What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into it. Just like the title says, this is going to be my thoughts on the LA fires, global warming, personal experience in 2018 LA fires that I was in, and then smart cities and direct energy weapons. So a lot of people are going to think I'm a conspiracy theorist, and that's fine. I believe the fires in LA recently were created by a direct energy weapon to pave the way for a smart city for LA in 2028, and I think it's no coincidence. I also think global warming is a lie that's used to control us. I was in the LA fires in 2018 working at an animal hospital in the LA area, and I was living in an RV in the beach at the time, and it was scary. I thought I was going to die. I'm going to dive more into why I think it was a direct energy weapon and all planned. So direct energy weapons are a class of weapons that are used that use focused energy, such as lasers, microwaves, and particle beams to damage or disable targets. They are considered an emerging technology in modern warfare and defense systems. Below is a detailed breakdown on different types, applications, and concerns surrounding direct energy weapons. So, type of direct energy weapons: high energy lasers use concentrated beams of light to destroy or disable targets, can be used for missile defenses, drone interception, and anti-personnel applications. Examples: U.S. Navy's laser weapon system, Lockheed Martin's Athena and Helios system, HELIOS, that's how that's spelled, sorry if I missaid it, Israel's Iron Beam, high-powered microwave weapons emit pulses of microwave energy to disable electronics and disrupt enemy communications. Can be used for electronic warfare or as an anti-personnel weapon. Examples is U.S. Air Force's counter electronics high-power microwave advanced missile project (CHAMP) and Russia's Alabuga system, Alabuga. That's how that's spelled. And then we have the particle beam weapons right here. So use subatomic particles accelerated at near light speeds to damage or neutralize targets. Still largely experimental due to power requirements and engineering challenges. And then we have sonic and ultrasonic weapons. Use sound waves and capable or disorient people. Have been used in a riot control and as non-lethal crowd dispersal tools. And examples: long-range acoustic devices. And then application and use cases in the military defense: destroying missiles, drones, and enemy aircraft, disabling electronic and communication systems, law enforcement and riot control, non-lethal crowd control using microwave and sonic weapons, which I just mentioned above, space and anti-satellite operations, potential use in disabling satellites and space-based infrastructure, cyber and electronic warfare, disrupting enemy radar targeting systems and communications. And then we have potential risks and ethical concerns. So, civilian impact: direct energy weapons can cause permanent blindness, burns, or neurological damage. And then we have electronic infrastructure vulnerability. High power microwaves could shut down power grids and communication systems. And then there's the global arms race. Countries like US, China, and Russia are investing heavily in direct energy weapon development, potentially escalating military conflicts. And then we have lack of an international regulation. There are no clear global treaties regulating the deployment of direct energy weapons in warfare. So the known incidents and theories: U.S. Embassy, Havana Syndrome, 2016 to present. Diplomats reported neurological symptoms possibly linked to microwave weapons. California wildfires, conspiracies, as they say. Uh, some claim that satellite-based direct energy weapons cause wildfires, though no solid evidence supports this, as they say. Military testing: the U.S. and China have conducted multiple classified tests of direct energy weapon systems, including ship mounted laser defenses. The current state of development: the U.S. military has deployed direct energy weapons on ships and vehicles, with further advancements expected by 2030. Note Agenda 2030. China and Russia are developing their own direct energy weapon systems, including aircraft mounted lasers. Private defense contractors, example Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, are actively improving direct energy weapon efficiency, reducing power consumption, and miniaturizing systems for battlefield use. And then we have the California wildfire direct energy weapon conspiracy theory, as they so say, suggests that some of large destructive wildfires in California were not caused by natural events such as lightning or human negligence, but instead were triggered by directed energy weapons, potentially fired from satellites or high altitude aircraft. This theory has been widely circulated online but lacks credible scientific or official evidence, as they say. And then origins of theory, unusual in bird patterns. Some conspiracy theorists, as they say, point to photos of wildfires where houses appear to be destroyed while nearby trees remain standing. They claim that this is inconsistent with a natural wildfire and instead suggests a precision strike by energy weapon. Experts counter that fire behavior is complex and houses often burn more intensely due to the materials that they are made of, while trees may be more resistant to certain fire conditions. Blue objects not burning. Some viral images claim that everything burned except blue-colored objects, which led to speculation that the laser was tuned to avoid that specific color. So then you'll know, like what happened in Hawaii, like with all those celebrities' houses didn't burn down and they all had blue roofs. Um, and I think that was like around Maui when those Hawaii fires happened, like a year or two ago. Um, and then we have fire experts explain that the survival of certain objects in a fire is based on material composition and heat resistance, not color. Eyewitness accounts of beams of light. Some individuals have reported seeing blue flashes or beams of light in the sky before a wildfire started. These flashes are usually linked to electrical transformers blowing up, a common occurrence during extreme weather or high winds. Military and space-based laser programs. The U.S. military and private defense contractors like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon have publicly acknowledged the development of directed energy weapons for defense purposes. Some theorists speculate that testing of these weapons have been done over civilian areas, either accidentally or intentionally. And then lack of evidence, as they say, no scientific proof. All available evidence suggests that California wildfires are primarily caused by climate change, which I'll get into later, which I don't believe. Drought, high winds, and electrical failures, down power lines from Pacific Gas and Electric. Satellite and drone footage of wildfire origins do not show any external energy bursts or laser beams. Government and expert dismissals. Firefighters, meteorologists, and forestry experts have dismissed direct energy weapons claimed as misinformation, emphasizing the wildfire spread patterns aligned with natural fire behavior. Misinformation spread on social media. Viral photos claimed to show direct energy weapon caused fires are often either misinterpreted or doctored, so they say. And then some images originate from unrelated military laser tests or CGI renderings, as they say. So, what is actually causing wildfires? Power line failures. Some of the most devastating California wildfires, such as the 2018 Camp Fire, were caused by sparks from aging electrical infrastructure. So they say. Extreme heat and drought. California's rising temperatures and dry conditions create perfect wildfire conditions. Again, we'll get into global warming later. Strong winds, Santa Ana and Diablo winds. These winds can carry embers for miles, rapidly spreading fires. And look up what the origin of Diablo is when you get a chance. And then human activity, arson, accidents, and campfires. Some wildfires have been deliberately set, while others start from careless human behavior, which I do believe that. Why do people believe in the direct energy weapon theory like myself? Mistrust of government and media. Some people believe that officials and corporations are hiding advanced weapon experiments or using them for secret purposes, which I do believe. Real direct energy weapon development programs. Some militaries worldwide are actively developing laser and microwave weapons. Some assume they must have already been tested in real world environments. Social media and misinformation. Conspiracies often spread through edited videos and misleading posts take real direct energy weapon technology out of context, so they say. So the final verdict, there's no credible evidence, so they say, that California wildfires were caused by directed energy weapons. However, interest in direct energy weapons continues to grow to real military advancements, leading some to speculate that their use in civilian areas is being covered up. While skepticism of official narratives is natural, scientific wildfire investigations overwhelmingly attribute these fires to natural and human causes, not space-based weapons. Some versions of the California wildfire direct energy weapons conspiracy, so they say, are tied to a broader theory involving smart cities and government land grabs. The claim suggests that certain devastating wildfires were intentionally started using direct energy weapons to clear land for smart city development. This theory is widely considered misinformation, so they say, but has gained traction through the real world push for smart city technology, climate policies, and the increasing use of AI driven urban planning. Here's how the conspiracy theory, so they say, connects the wildfires to smart cities. Core claims of the smart city wildfire conspiracy: fires were intentionally set to destroy specific areas, which I do believe. Some theorists claim wildfires were deliberately started to forcibly remove residents and businesses from certain zones. The government and corporations want to replace burned down towns with smart cities. The idea is that traditional suburban and rural communities are being destroyed to make way for 15-minute cities and high-tech urban developments controlled by AI, digital IDs, and surveillance. Direct energy weapons were used as a precision tools for destruction. Some claim the wildfires had too precise of a burn pattern, suggesting on energy weapons was used to selectively destroy homes while leaving other structures untouched. Evidence of pre-planning. Some theorists point to maps of proposed smart city zones or high-speed rail uh, corridors, that overlap with wildfire-effective areas, kind of like that train going to LA from Vegas. I digress. The idea is that these regions were targeted for destruction to clear the way of new infrastructure. Area and event commonly cited in the theory: Maui. Um, I'm not even going to try to say this because I don't want to butcher it. LAHAINA fires 2023. Some theorists claim the Maui wildfires were part of a plan to turn LAHAINA into a smart island. A World Economic Forum initiative was discussed substantial smart city technologies in Hawaii before the fires. This has fueled speculation that Maui was deliberately burned to make way for redevelopment. Paradise, California campfire 2018, which are those are the ones I was in. The deadliest wildfire in California history wiped out nearly the entire town of Paradise. Some claim Paradise was targeted because it was in a way of planned smart infrastructure projects. Santa Rosa, California, Tubbs Fire 2017. The fire destroyed thousands of homes in specific neighborhoods. Some noticed that the burn area matched proposed urban development zones in prior planning documents. What are smart cities and why are they controversial? A smart city is an urban area that uses data, AI, and digital technology to optimize infrastructure, transportation, and energy use. Some key features include 5G networks and high speed internet connectivity, AI driven surveillance and facial recognition, electric vehicle mandates and limited car usage, smart grids for energy efficiency and climate control, digital IDs and cashless economies. Why some people are concerned? Privacy and surveillance concerns. Critics fear smart cities will turn into high surveillance zones where every movement is tracked. Increased government control. Digital systems can make it easier for governments to restrict movement, enforce climate policies, or limit personal freedoms. Exclusion of rural lifestyles. Excuse me. Some believe the push of smart cities disadvantages people who prefer living in small towns or off grid. Because smart cities initiatives often align with climate change policies, some theorists believe wildfires are being used as a tool to drive people out of rural and suburban areas into controlled urban zones. Reality check. Is there evidence for this? Wildfire origins are well documented. Most large California wildfires have been traced to electrical failures, extreme drought, and high winds. Smart cities are a real concept, but there is no proof of forest relocation, so they say. While many governments and corporations are investing in smart city projects, there is no confirmed link between these projects and international and intentional wildfire destructions. Excuse me. Direct energy weapons exist, but not for mass land clearing. Directed energy weapons are used in military applications, but no credible evidence suggests that they've been deployed to ignite forests or towns. Why do people believe this? Coincidences between wildfires and future development plans. I don't believe in coincidences, and I'm going to do a whole video on that. Some maps of smart city proposals do overlap with wildfire affected areas, leading to suspicion. Mistrust in government and corporations. Post disasters, example, government land grabs after Hurricane Katrina make people suspicious of disaster recovery efforts. Real estate and economic interests. Some fire affected towns have seen corporate investors buy land at low prices after disasters, fueling theories of engineered destruction. Social media amplification. Viral videos and edited images have spread misleading claims about energy beams in smart city planning documents, so they say. So, final verdict here. The idea of California wildfires or the Maui fires were caused by direct energy weapons to make room for smart cities is not supported by solid evidence. However, the concerns about smart cities' digital control and forced urbanization are real issues that many people are skeptical about. The preparedness and response to California wildfires under Democratic leadership has been widely debated. While wildfires have been a persistent issue in California, critics argue that Democratic policies on forest management, energy infrastructure, and climate regulations have contributed to the severity of fires. However, supporters contend that climate change and extreme weather conditions have made fires worse regardless of political leadership. Here's a breakdown of the key arguments and facts regarding whether Democrats were unprepared for the wildfires. Forest management and fire prevention issues criticism of Democratic leadership. Failure to clear dead trees and brush. Critics argue that California's strict environmental policies have delayed or blocked logging, controlled burns, and brush clearing, all of which help prevent catastrophic fires. In 2020, President Trump criticized Governor Gavin Newsom, saying poor forest management was responsible for the fires. California rejected federal forest management help. The Trump administration offered to assist with clearing forests, but California officials were slow to implement federal recommendations. Slow implementation of prescribed burns. Native American tribes historically used controlled burns to prevent megafires, but California regulations made it difficulty to conduct these burns until recently. In 2021, California cut its wildfire prevention budget by $150 million despite growing fire risk. Defense by Democrats. Most of California's forests are federally owned, 57% by the U.S. government, 3% state owned, and 40% private land. Democrats argue that Republican controlled federal agencies share blame for poor management. Climate change has made fires worse regardless of policy. Record heat waves, droughts, and dry conditions linked to climate change have increased fire risks beyond what traditional forest management can handle. And then we have power grid failures and negligence. Pacific Gas and Electric have been responsible for some of California's deadliest fires. The 2018 Camp Fires, which destroyed Paradise, California, and killed 85 people, rest in peace to their souls, was caused by faulty equipment, apparently. The company delayed infrastructure upgrades while paying executive bonuses, leading to unsafe power lines sparking fires. Democratic leaders failed to hold the electric company they're accountable for years. Despite the electric companies there in California's role in multiple fires, and that's PG&E. Governor Gavin Newsom accepted large campaign donations from the company and later helped approve a bailout for them instead of prioritizing safety upgrades. Rolling blackouts left communities vulnerable to fire evacuations. California's energy policies led to power shortages during that heat wave, making it harder for residents to evacuate or receive emergency alerts. Firefighting resources and emergency response issues, lack of preparation. So California had a shortage of firefighters. Budget cuts and reliance on prison labor for firefighting left the state unprepared for when large fires broke out. Emergency response delays in major fires. In 2018, Camp Fire's residents reported not receiving evacuation orders in time, leading to a higher death tolls. The 2023 Maui wildfire in Hawaii, a deep blue state, had similar failures where officials were criticized for not using emergency sirens to warn residents. Actions taken by Democrats. California increased its firefighting budget in recent years. In 2021, Newsom allocated $2 billion to wildfire prevention and firefighting resources after facing criticism. And then we have partnership with the federal government for wildfire, MITIGATION, meditation. My bad, y'all. The Biden administration has worked with California on forest thinning projects and increasing firefighter pay. Final verdict: were Democrats unprepared? Yes, in some ways. Environmental regulations slowed effective wildfire prevention. PG&E's negligence was not properly addressed until multiple deadly fires occurred. Underinvestment in firefighting resources left the state vulnerable. And then here it says climate change and extreme drought are worsening fire conditions regardless of political leadership, which a lot of people do believe. But again, I'm going to go into my to what I believe later in that. Most California forests are federally owned, making fire prevention a shared responsibility, and California has increased fire prevention efforts in recent years. While Democratic policies in California contributed to fire risks, it would be an oversimplification to blame them entirely. So they say. The issue involves a mix or poor infrastructure, corporate negligence, climate change, and regulatory hurdles, many of which existed before Newsom or any other Democratic leaderships took office. So you see, there's a little bit of a defense there for Democrats, but we'll go on later to that. I believe they're all corrupt, left and right. They're part of the same bird. The water controversy, firefighting versus environmental regulations. California restricts access to certain water supplies due to environmental laws, which some critics argue makes fighting wildfires more difficult. Here's how this issue plays out. A water release for endangered fish. Water releases for endangered fish. California's environmental policies prioritize water flow for endangered fish species, especially for Sacramento, San Joaquin Delta, Joaquin. My bad if I butchered that too. Water from reservoirs like Shasta, Oroville, and Folsom. FOLSOM, is often released into rivers to maintain fish habitats rather than being diverted for agriculture, drinking water, or firefighting. Some argue that the water could be used to boost firefighting efforts, but it remains allocated to comply with the Endangered Species Act. Restrictions on water pumping for fires. During the 2020 California wildfires, firefighters requested access to water from the delta and nearby reservoirs, but regulations restricted how much could be used. So you see there, it just something just seems right because honestly, human lives are more important. I digress. Critics claim that millions of gallons of water were reserved for fish rather than being used to fight fires effectively. Governor Gavin Newsom faced backlash for not adjusting these policies during peak wildfire seasons. And then, is there a 60% more powerful firefighting water? Some claims suggest that California has access to a type of water that is 60% more effective at putting out fires, but there is no widely scientific basis for this claim, so they say. However, certain water treatments and chemical additives like firefighting foams and wetting agents can make water more effective. California has faced restrictions on using certain fire retardants due to concerns over environmental damage, which could contribute to the perception that better water exists, but this isn't being used. So see, like with the theory of climate change and then them restricting it, it's just again, human life is more important. The political debate. Republicans and some firefighters argue that California's strict environmental laws are preventing effective wildfire response. Democrats and environmental groups argue that protecting endangered species is necessary for long-term ecosystem health, and that fire prevention, like controlled burns and clearing dry bush, is a bigger issue than water supply. So, final verdict: is firefighting water being wasted on fish? True in part. So it says California does prioritize water releases for endangered fish even during fire season, which I think is wrong. Firefighters have faced restrictions on accessing water from reservoirs due to environmental laws. There are more effective firefighting water treatments, but their use is sometimes restricted to environmental concerns, but not entirely. So they say the 60% more effective water claim lacks direct scientific support. Water shortages in California affect multiple sectors: agriculture, drinking water, and firefighting, not just fish protection. And then we have fire prevention failures. Lack of controlled burns, forest management, and power grid issues play a large role in wildfire severity. So I believe that those could be common factors, but I do believe there's something deeper going on. Here's a structured argument with logical reasoning and evidence that challenges the mainstream climate change claims. Climate has always changed naturally. Earth's climate has fluctuated for millions of years due to natural cycles long before industrialization. The medieval warm period, 950 to 1250 AD, saw higher temperatures than today, yet there was no industrial CO emissions. The Little Ice Age, 1300 to 1850 AD, cooled the planet, showing that temperature changes occur naturally. Inaccuracies in climate models. Many climate predictions from the past have been wrong. 1970, scientists predicted a coming ice age. Al Gore's 2006 claim, he said Arctic ice would be gone by 2013, it's still there. The 12-year deadline for climate action keeps getting extended. If climate models were accurate, there wouldn't be a need of constant revisions when real-world data doesn't match projections. CO levels don't drive temperatures as claimed. CO2 levels don't drive temperatures as claimed. Historical data show CO2 rises after temperature increases, not before. Water vapor is the most abundant greenhouse gas, yet the focus in the CO2, which makes up only 0.04% of the atmosphere. Volcanic eruptions and ocean activity release more CO2 than human industry in some cases. Extreme weather isn't getting worse. Hurricanes, tornadoes, and wildfires are not increasing in frequency. Records show that they have happened throughout history. Example, the Dust Bowl of the 1930s had some of the worst droughts and heat waves ever recorded long before modern industry. The media selectively reports natural disasters, making it seem like they're increasing, but data from the IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, does not show a dramatic increase. The climate crisis is politicized. Climate change is used to justify higher taxes, regulations, and government control. Examples: carbon taxes, restrictions on farming and energy use. Elites and politicians who push climate change often own private jets and beachfront mansions, suggesting they don't truly believe in rising sea levels. The same governments that claim there's a climate emergency failed to implement practical solutions like nuclear energy, which is clean and reliable. Alternative explanations for warming trends. The sun's activity, particularly solar cycles, has a significant impact on Earth's temperature. Urbanization and deforestation can create localized warming effects, but this is not evidence of global catastrophe. Some warming may be occurring, but it is not necessarily dangerous or caused by human activity. So here's the conclusion. Climate policy should be based on facts, not fear. Climate change naturally and alarmist predictions often fail. CO2 is not the primary driver of temperature changes. Extreme weather is not increasing in a way that proves human caused climate change. And the climate agenda is politically and financially motivated, leading to policies that restrict personal freedoms. The argument that climate change policies are being used for control rather than genuine environmental protection is based on the idea that governments and global elites exploit climate fears to increase their power. Here's how. Justification for increased government power, declaring a climate emergency. Some politicians and organizations push for a climate emergency similar to a COVID 19 lockdowns, which could allow them to suspend freedoms and impose regulations without public approval. Expanding government agencies. More regulations mean more bureaucratical control over businesses, architectures, and transportations, bureaucrats. Uh, the European Union has considered using emergency powers to enforce climate policy similar to wartime restrictions, higher taxes, and economic restrictions. Carbon taxes and energy regulations increase costs for consumers while funneling money into government programs. Green energy mandates force businesses and individuals to comply with costly upgrades like EVs and solar panels, even if they are impractical. Example, the Paris Climate Agreement imposes economic burdens on Western nations while allowing China and India to continue increasing emissions. Control over food and agriculture, regulations on farming, climate policies are used to limit meat production and push alternative foods like lab grown meat and insects. Banning fertilizers. The Netherlands is shutting down farms to reduce nitrogen emissions, even though this could cause food shortages. Example, SRI, Lanka banned LANKA banned chemical fertilizers in 2021, leading to a food crisis and economic collapse under the guise of sustainability. Energy controlled and forced lifestyle changes. Climate policies push net zero energy goals, leading to blackouts, energy rationing, and higher electricity prices. Governments can restrict travel, enforce EV mandates, and limit home energy use under the claim of saving the planet. Examples: California bans gas powered cars by 2035 while its power grid can't handle current demand, forcing reliance on government controlled electricity. Digital ID, social credit, and carbon tracking. Some propose carbon footprint trackers, limiting how much you can travel, eat meat, or use energy. This could be tied to the digital IDs or CBDC, central bank digital currencies, allowing governments to restrict purchases based on climate compliance. Example: the World Economic Forum has promoted a personal carbon allowance system, which could eventually dictate how some people live. Climate fear is justified censorship. Critics of climate policies are often labeled as climate deniers to silence debate. Government and tech companies censor information that questions mainstream climate narratives. Examples: some media companies already suppress discussions on alternative climate perspectives and energy solutions. Conclusion: climate change as a tool for control. Climate change may be real, quote unquote, but the response to it is often more about control than solutions through taxes, regulation, surveillance, and censorship. Governments and global elites can reshape society while restricting personal freedoms, all in the name of saving the planet. The origins of climate change as a concept. The idea of climate change has evolved over time, but it gained widespread attention in the 20th century. Below is a timeline I'm going to show you of how the concept developed. Early climate theories, 1800s to early 1900s. 1800 scientists began studying how gases like CO2 affect Earth's temperature. In 1856, Eunice, EUNIC, I think that's Eunice Foote, FOOTE, suggested CO2 could trap heat. 1896, Savante Arrhenius, Arrhenius, proposed the greenhouse effect, but he thought warming would be beneficial, not dangerous. 1920s to 1930s, some scientists believe Earth was naturally warming, pointing to melting Arctic ice as evidence. The global cooling scare, 1940s to 1970s. 1940s to 1970s, global temperature slightly cooled, leading to fears of a coming ice age. 1970s, media panic. Time Magazine and Newsweek, Time Magazine 1974, Newsweek in 1975 warned of global cooling and food shortages. Some scientists suggested we might need to melt the polar ice caps to prevent cooling. Fear mongering. I digress. The shift to global warming, 1980s to 1990s. In 1980s, the cooling trend reversed and scientists began warning about global warming instead. 1988, NASA scientist James Hansen testified before Congress saying humans were causing dangerous warming. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, was created to study human impact on climate. 1990s. The media stopped talking about global cooling and instead promoted fears of rising temperatures, stronger hurricanes, and sea level rise. The modern climate crisis narrative 2000s to today. 2006, Al Gore's film An Inconvenient Truth warned of a catastrophic warming. Many of its predictions did not come true. I repeat, many of them did not come true. 2015, the Paris Climate Agreement was signed aiming to cut CO2 emissions. 2018 to 2023, Greta Thunberg, an activist, pushed for climate emergency policies. Governments and corporations use climate change to justify carbon taxes, energy regulations, and net zero policies. Push for electric vehicles, renewable energy, and carbon tracking systems grow. So, conclusion: climate change is an evolving concept. Climate has always changed naturally, but the idea that humans are the main cause popular became popular after the 1980s. Scientists and media switched from a global cooling scare in the 1970s to a global warming crisis in the 1990s. Today, climate change is used to push political and economic policies, including carbon taxes, energy restrictions, and global regulations. And personally, if it was such a big deal, why are we flying on planes if it's so bad for the earth? And then in my personal experience, I just thought it was odd that Trippie Redd came out with an album right before those fires happened in 2018 in LA. And there was a song called Topanga, and that town got burnt down pretty well. And there was a song called Campfire. So to me, it was more like predictive programming. And then also, I was on the beach near the water when the fires happened there in Malibu. And you would just see fires just started randomly all around you, like almost like it was coming from the sky, and then you would see cars that were melted as well. And I thought it was all because then shortly after, I thought it was all because of that. I don't at the time I didn't think it was a direct energy beam or anything, but I just remember looking up at a mountain and like I don't know, it was just weird. Like it just caught on fire, and like you just had to be there to see it. It just seemed like kind of like unnatural. I don't know. And I thought, and it happened right after COVID, so I just thought it was all just kind of coincidental. Um, so yeah, and I was like living in an RV at the time, like on the beach there.
We got you covered today. It's a black top. We're gonna see who bring it. Let's do it. What next? We've seen the triple game. Hit him with the quick cross. Can they convert the second chance? He's about to get cooked.